I've heard a number of people ask questions about the voting at the Plenary Council. There's a distinction between consultative votes and determinative votes. Well, I think in a country like Australia, a democracy, we both have some comparisons and some distinctions to make. So we're used to the idea that we vote in elections. However, when we vote, we're not directly voting on items before the parliaments. We're voting for a representative who then represents us in the parliament. But we don't really have any direct control over how that person votes on any particular measure. Well, the Plenary Council has some similarities and some distinctions. The consultative vote is by all of those members apart from the bishops. They actually get to consider any propositions that come forward. Now, at this stage, we only have a guess from the agenda items what those things might be. But one that's been widely touted has been the possibility of having an Australian set of laws for diocesan pastoral councils, that every diocese in Australia might have a diocesan pastoral council. That would be voted on as a consultative vote to see whether the majority of the Plenary Council would actually think that's a good idea. Then separated and over a period of time for prayer, for reflection. In this case, should that come up in this session of the Plenary Council, it's highly likely that it would be voted on next year in the next session. And then that would be subject to the determinative vote, which is restricted to the bishops. However, it's restricted to them in the sense that they are the representatives of the diocese. They're the representatives of each local church. And so they are hearing what everybody else is saying. They're hearing the views that have come forward. And I guess if you think about it more broadly, in the consultative process, in the first phases of the preparation for the Plenary Council, we got a range of ideas. Those ideas are being focused. They'll be the subject of the consultative votes, which will then lead the entire Plenary Council to pray, to reflect further, to take another step on the synodal journey, in which then those with a determinative vote, the bishops who are present, will actually decide what happens. They'll then make a recommendation to Rome, so the Plenary Council will pass the determinative votes. It will be sent to Rome for what's called a recognitio. That is, that the Holy See will recognise that that law is valid for Australia. It's possible they might not, but it's highly unlikely. There will also be a set of recommendations, I would imagine, for things that go beyond Australia. So any recommended changes to the universal law of the Church, to the Code of Canon Law, would have to be a recommendation for the Holy See to consider. And those things will probably be subject to a determinative vote as well. But they may well just be the consultative vote. So I hope that's made things slightly clearer in terms of the voting.